open access publishing. And this presentation explores how open access publishing can significantly boost the visibility, accessibility, and impact of your research. And we're also going to learn more about the different open access models and how to identify reputable journals, something that we all need to do if you want to publish, and how our institutional support and agreements can help you to publish more openly. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Sakile to introduce himself and to start his presentation. Thank you, Sakile. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Henry. Good morning, colleagues. I hope you can hear me. Thank you so much, Henry, for
you can hear you, Sakile.
You can hear me. All right, great. Thank you so much for the introduction. And welcome all colleagues who are in attendance today. If you can just allow me to share my screen. I'm sorry, I'm using two screens, so I keep looking on the other side, but I'm going to focus on the main one just shortly. There we go. Good morning once again, colleagues. So my name is Sakile Mgomezulu, and I'm the manager for Open Access Scholarship. I was saying that thank you so much for joining the session today under the sub-theme that we are mainly focusing on today, which is let's strengthen your research impact. I'm going to be presenting on the topic enhancing your research impact and visibility through open access publishing. And on the topic, these are some of the things that we're going to dive into. We are going to firstly have just a brief description of what open access is, or why should one even opt to publish open access. We're going to also look into the models of open access publishing, the benefits, the transformational arguments, as my colleague has already mentioned, a little bit on the Creative Commons license, predatory publishers or journals, just to make sure that you publish in reputable journals, and also just an overview on a number of platforms that we have in place as the library as part of our advocacy for open access. So what is open access? Open access is basically the principle of making scholarly research and literature freely available online to the public without any barriers such as paywalls or subscription fees. So what does this mean then? This simply means that anyone with access to the internet, they are able to read, download, copy, distribute, or even reuse the content without financial, legal, or technical restrictions. For those who have published before, they would remember that the traditional model of publishing has since changed compared to the different options that we have in place at the moment in terms of having to publish. For example, the models, or rather the traditional models, would require that authors sometimes have to pay those article processing charges, rather fees, to publish in journals, but also for you to also have access to the same journals or publishers with the articles that you've published, you'd have to sort of pay a subscription fee to be able to access your output or the research output. Even for the readers out there, or the audience would have to be subscribed or have to belong or be affiliated with the institution that is subscribed to that journal for them to actually get access to the publications that we produce as scholarly publishers, right? So why should one even opt to publish open access? We know that scholarly research is not freely accessible under the traditional model of subscription-based journals. So I already mentioned that you would be required to then pay a subscription fee or be affiliated with the institution that actually is subscribed to a specific journal or the publisher for you to have access to that. Number two, inequitable access and based on ability to pay. So if you can't afford to pay, then it means you can't have access to scholarly output. So this is the main aim of open access, to make sure that we do away with that point in publishing. We, in as much as we continue to produce more quality research output, but we also ensure that the audience, or rather readers out there, have access to what we produce. It also, open access, remember, also ensures that your research output is widely disseminated out there without any restrictions. So what it means that if readers are not required to pay a subscription fee or to be subscribed to a journal, then it means it is open for everyone, as long as, remember the definition, as long as they have access to the internet. So as the author also, it benefits you, because it means more people are more likely to then now read your research output, because there are no restriction in terms of having to access your research output. There are moving on to the next slide, there are different models in open access publishing that I want us to also discuss. Later in the presentation, I'm also going to take you through practical examples that I included in the presentation as part of these models, just to be specific that this particular platform falls under this specific model, or rather, of open access publishing. So the first model that I want us to talk about is called open access. So this is one of the most open, least restrictive type of open access model. The final published version of research article is permanently and freely available for everyone anywhere. So the author ought to then pay APC's article processing charges to publish, but the reader then will get access for free. So the author pays to publish, but readers do not, or rather they are not required to pay to access the research output. Then they will have they will get access for free, right? As long as they have access to the internet, they can search and be able to retrieve your research output that you've published. All right, and we also have a different model of open access, which is green open access. So this basically, if I can summarize this kind of model, it speaks to self-archiving or self-archival, right? This is when an article is first deposited into a subject-based repository or an institutional repository. For example, we also have our very own institutional repository in place, which is SunScholar. So if we upload your research output, could be your article, could be your thesis or dissertation. If we upload it on the institutional repository, then we are practicing green open access. It doesn't end there. If you, as the author, decide to upload your research output, for example, in your researcher profile account, such as maybe your Google Scholar profile, your ORCID, or any other research profile platform, just to make sure that it is disseminated out there for wider audience, then you also practicing green open access, right? So this is usually a type of model that we do after the publication has been published, right? Once the publication has been published in a journal out there, then you would have to you'd have to also upload it in your own researcher profile. It's already made an example of Google Scholar profile, right? You can also send, for authors who are affiliated with the Stellenbosch University, and in case you've worked on articles previously and you see that your citation count is not really improving, it's still low, you are more than welcome to send us your research output. It could be your article, and we are going to go through the copyright policy. Remember, we need to make sure that we only upload on our institutional repository, we only upload what we are allowed to upload. We cannot upload if the publisher, or rather the journal, doesn't allow us to redistribute your research output. So we're going to actually go through the policy and see if we are allowed to redistribute your research output. We can then upload it on our institutional repository. We have different harvesters that harvest from our platform to disseminate it to wider audience out there, so that someone who's on the other side of the world, global north, anywhere in the world, they can basically be able to access your research output. So should you have any research output that you like us to help you maximize your impact or visibility, you're more than welcome to send us an email. You can even talk to your faculty librarian, then they will definitely make sure that at the end of the day your research output is uploaded on the research on the institutional repository. All right. And we also have Diamond Open Access. So this is another model of open access. This refers to journals that provide free access for readers, but also for authors to publish. So basically, this is a model where for an author an author can publish for free, but at the same time, the readers also get to access the publication for free. So it's free for both the author and the reader. All right. So we also do have a platform in place that is a great example of Diamond Open Access in the institution, Sun Journals. I'm also going to take you through the platform just to show you a variety of journals that we have listed in that platform that you can maybe select from and then decide if you want to publish. This is a great example of also the fact that the institution is at the forefront, rather playing a critical role in terms of promoting or advocating for open access by ensuring that our authors, they also are able to publish in those journals, and also our readers, not only our readers, but the wider audience is also able to access these publications without any subscription fee or paying anything to have to access this research output. All right. Then the last model that I want us to discuss is hybrid open access. So this is a model that provides open access only for some journals, those for which payment is made on behalf of the author. So, for example, I would make, maybe try and explain it this way, just to make sure maybe it makes more sense. The same journal would have articles that are freely accessible, or they're of open access, right? And then some of the journals in the same, some of the articles in the same journal require that you pay subscription fee to access them. So one journal has kind of both articles that are free, that are just open for everyone to access, but some of the journals, some of the articles in the same journals, they are closed in a sense that you have to be subscribed, or you have to pay some sort of subscription fee to have to access those articles. So it's a combination of both. I'm sure you've seen journals that are like that, where you find that okay, you can be able to you are able to actually access a PDF on some of the topics in the same journals, but when you search for or when you search more on the same journal, some of those topics are basically closed. So, I mean, articles are basically closed. So you can access them not unless you are subscribed or you are affiliated with the institution that is an institution that is sort of affiliated with that or that subscribes to that journal. All right. And now let's look into the benefits out of publishing open access. So this is basically for researchers, what you can benefit from publishing open access. Number one, we already, I hope we already established that open access is all about promoting free open access and um, making sure that we getting rid of any possible restrictions that may hinder the audience out there from accessing the research outputs that we produce. So this then will lead to obviously wider readership. So if there is a term that we use in the field, there is behind paywalls. So this means that you are not required to pay anything. You can just access it as long as you search and the keywords are related to your research output that you've already published out there. Then you are able to now also access the same research output and use it how you want to use it. So obviously that will also lead to wider readership. I already mentioned also that anyone from any part of the world, if they search on the internet, then they are able to access, not just access, but also download your research output and then use it to produce more research. Those who are doing research at the moment would agree that especially when it comes to the chapter of the literature review, then you have to read more literature out there, and it can be frustrating when you search for literature and you can't really access what you are looking for. So this exists to make sure that the literature that we produce is also accessible to the audience to help produce more research output. Okay. And then it also helps in terms of increasing citation and impact. If more people are able to read your research output, then you are more likely to get more cited, and your research output will make even more impact. We already touched on the visibility, so it is visible to everyone if it is not behind paywalls. If it doesn't require that I am subscribed to or get access, then it means it is visible to the wider audience, and it will also lead us to our previous point, which is increased citation and impact. So all these benefits, they actually they go together. So it also does promote collaboration. How does open access promote or rather encourage collaboration? So if let's say I'm based in the global south and there is an author based in the global north, and they work on a research and they publish a research output, and because of its open access, right? When I search on the internet, I'll definitely be able to access that research output, right? Then I am able to then now tell that this researcher is basically interested in the same subject that I'm working on. I can then contact the researcher, not even that far as the global north and global south, even with, amongst different institutions in the country. If you find that someone is doing research on the same subject that you also, you have the same interest, then you can contact them, and then you can now start working together and produce more research output together. But if my research is published under journals that require a subscription fee to access, then it means I'm not even going to be able to access the research output that they produce, and I'm more likely to never even discover that someone out there may be interested in the same subject as me, and that also work against collaboration and producing more research output, having to collaborate with authors from different institutions, different parts of the world. All right. Because researchers, I'm sure researchers are aware that it's possible to work on a research output with authors who are basically who you basically never met in your life, but you know each other because of we're living in digital area, so you can meet through Teams and then all other platforms that you can use to meet. But that could only be possible if you know what they've produced or what research output they've produced previously, and then from there you then discover that we can work on something together in the future, and then from there you develop a relationship and start collaborating and produce even more research output. The open access also provides rapid availability and searchability. So this means that as soon as your publication is published, it can be accessible immediately. I'm also going to expound on that when I talk about the read and publish agreements, transformational agreements in the presentation, just to indicate that as soon as we do the final step of publishing, which is basically to approve your affiliation, and then your publication is published, whoever goes to the internet and they search for it, they will be able to retrieve it and use it immediately. So it is also, it works better than the traditional model of publishing. All right. And okay, can I just minimize this? All right. To the back. All right. So now we move on to our next slides. I'm just gonna try and be quick on this one. It's about Creative Commons. So, what are Creative Commons? What is this all about? So, this basically a license issued by the copyright owner to allow anyone in the world to use their own copyright work in line with that license. So, who is the copyright owner, and who determines how their work is used in the future is you as the author, right? So this basically enables work to be used under certain circumstances, and there was no need to contact or negotiate terms of use with the author. If the policy or if the license stipulates that we are allowed to reuse, redistribute, and use your research output, then I don't need to sort of request for permission from you as the author. I can just redistribute or reuse your research output. Okay, so we do have a variety of licenses that you can select from. I must mention that that we in a process of making sure that the CC BY, which is my first license that I want to talk about, I did indicate on the presentation that this one is best overall for open research, right? If you want to make sure that you reach maximum impact and visibility, you ought to then go with this license, the CC BY. We are in the process, especially with the publishers that we have agreements with under the read and publish agreements. We're also going to talk about those in the presentation. We are in the process of making sure that the CC BY license option is the default option, right? Because this is basically the best option, especially for those who are interested in making sure that in as much as they produce research, but it is read out there. I like to believe that everyone who conducts research, they're not doing it just because they want to get promotions, they want to grow only personal, but they want to also empower their society, or rather find solutions for societal issues, right? So what's the point of them now producing that research output and you publish it behind paywalls or subscription-based journals where you won't even have access to it? Even the society that we present, or the communities that we present, will not even get access to the research output. Maybe your case study was based on the society that you're from, but the same society will not even get access to that research output. So that defeats the purpose of research. We know that you would have to grow also as a person, but in terms of research, you also need to look at all those dimensions to make sure that they are all covered. All right. So the CC BY license option, it allows remixing, commercial use, redistribution, as long as credit is given to the original author. So you need to acknowledge the original author or the author of the work, but then it allows you to remix commercial use and redistribute their research output. This is best for researchers who want maximum visibility, reuse, and impact, right? This also complies with most open access policies. It also complies with, for example, funders. Sometimes those who are doing research and they're being funded by, I remember now one of my studies were funded by NRF. So one of their statement is that whoever they fund rather has to make sure that they upload the research output on the public platform or open platform, which is the institutional repository. So sometimes funders do require that you upload your research output in an open platform, right? So we also have the CC BY NC. So if you want openness but prevent commercial use, you can use this this license. It allows reuse, remixing for non-commercial purposes only, right? So this is ideal also for researchers who support openness but want to avoid commercial exploitation. All right. Then we also have the CC BY ND. If you want to reuse without modifications, this allows redistribution, including commercially, but the material should not be changed, or it can be modified in a sense. If I can just make an example, because I can see time, then just because of time, an example of a newspaper. So if you take an opinion piece from a newspaper, you can, or magazine, you can modify that, but you are allowed to reuse that exactly in its original form, but you can modify and change everything that you found in that newspaper. So that's another example of the CC BY ND, where you can apply that kind of a license. We also have the CC BY NC&D. This is the least open option. I wouldn't recommend this for most researchers. It does allow redistribution only for unchanged form and for non-commercial use. So authors concerned about both commercial use and modification, but it does limit reuse and discoverability. All right. And then let's move on to our next slide, which is about deciding on the journal. I included this just to highlight that, but for those who are unsure, okay, because I know that in as much as we may have researchers who've published before, it's possible that we have novice researchers who are looking to publish for the first time. So if you are unsure in terms of how to publish and how to what journal to publish with, you're more than welcome to contact us first. But if you are able to then now also go through each publisher's webpage, you can find the feature that is called the journal finder. So a journal finder feature, I'm sure most, if not all of the publishers already have this feature. So you can use your abstract, you can use your keywords, you can use your title, so that you can get suggestions of the journals that are mostly relevant to the publication that you want to publish. From there, then you can then take it up with us to make sure that do we have an agreement with that journal, and then we can check for you. Another tip is to talk to your supervisor. You can speak to your supervisor. I would assume that your supervisor is a well-experienced researcher who has already published quite a number of articles, and they would know which journals are useful in their field of study. Then from there, you'll be able to decide in terms of the journal. All right. Then moving on to predatory publishers or journals. Right. We do know that in as much as we promote this open access publishing, there are journals that are trying out there to tarnish this entire movement by, there are journals that are not reputable. They are not reputable in a sense that they're not real journals, if I can put it that way. And we've seen some of researchers falling into that trap, and they end up publishing in the journals that do not exist. Okay, so you should be careful in terms of that. And I'm going to also share a few tips in terms of how to avoid those journals. You know that if in case you are unsure of the journal, or you are unable to analyze if the journal is really a reputable journal or is predatory, you can always contact us. We are always happy to assist and make sure that we go through the steps together and be able to analyze if the journal is it a journal that you can publish with, or you really can't afford to waste your time or even publish in that journal. So these kind of journals, these are journals that are not even indexed by competent scientific databases. Sometimes they have no information about their editorial board, so you can't even trace who are the editors there, and then because it's a journal that has it really looked like it is relevant to your study, you fall in the trap and end up submitting your publication in that journal, only to find that it is really not a reputable journal, right? Sometimes they are not even transparent in terms of description of their publishing process, right? I already mentioned that their editorial team cannot even be traced. Okay, so there are a few questions that you ought to ask yourself before you decide on the journal you want to publish with. Do they even peer review? Are the publications in that journal peer reviewed? Does it really provide academic freedom? The charge also for publishing, and then in terms of the copyright owner, are you going to be able to keep the copyright for your publication? Those are some of the questions you can ask yourself. These are not only things that you can look for, but these are just some of the tips that you can help you to sort of analyze or tell if a journal is really reputable or predatory. All right. And then there are, just a continuation from the last slide. Some of the things that you need to look for in a journal to be sure that this is really a good journal that you can publish with, or authentic journal rather that you can publish with, is maybe check the International Editorial Board also. Not always the case, but you need to look into those things. Quality of existing papers. So you go through the journal and check the publications that are already there on the journal. Just check the quality also. I mean, if it's your field of study, I'm sure you'll be able to tell if the publications in that journal really don't meet the standard of scholarly publishing. So those are some of the things that you can do to make sure. And also you can maybe search for researchers publishing in the journal. Remember, articles in the journal will also show the authors. Just check the authors and be able to see. I mean, it is mostly important because you know some of the authors that are good authors in your field of study, maybe authors even outside your university, because of the literature that you've worked on previously. You know which authors are mostly well experienced in the field. You don't even see any of those authors having published in the journal. You always have to question yourself and see if it is really a reputable journal, right? We as I already mentioned, we already assist in terms of that. We can do it together. It's not even a problem. You even check if there are articles in that in the same journal have dual eyes. If they are not dual eyes, also that could mean there is a problem there. Issues in the journal published regularly. You also check in terms of that. Journals have different issues, and within issues you'll find articles that are published. You check, or maybe you also analyze that part of the journal, and also the turnover time review process. How long does it take them to review? How long does the whole process takes? And then all those things, you need to consider them. And then, because the editorial board also is visible enough from any journal, you can always ask those questions and just to understand in terms of the turnover time and get to then decide from that perspective. All right. Okay, I'm going to move on to my next slide, which is now on transformational arguments. So what are these transformational arguments? These are also known as read and publish arguments. These are basically contracts negotiated between the institution, us, Stellenbosch University, and a variety of publishers that allows authors affiliated with the institution to publish, number one, in hybrid journals without paying article processing charges. That simply means for free, and in fully open access journals at a discount. All right. It is important to note that it's in most cases only, I think there's only one publisher that we have an agreement that allows publishing in both hybrid and fully open access journals without paying article processing charges, which is Wiley. But with other publishers, I'm going to take you through all those other publishers. I think we will be done just in a few minutes. To show what are those publishers, who are those publishers that are included in the agreement. All right, so most of publishers, the agreement that we have with them only allows our authors to publish in hybrid journals, and then they can publish for free, but only when they submit to hybrid journals. But when they submit to fully open access journals or gold, because fully open access journals means gold open access, then they get a discount. That is if those journals are included in the agreement. But if a journal is not included, then you are required to then now pay full article processing charges for your publishing. All right. I'm going to also make an example in terms of how you can go about the entire process of finding if a journal is included in the agreement. All right. So these agreements are negotiated, number one, by SANLIC, so South African National Library and Information Consortium is responsible to negotiate these agreements, not just represent the Stellenbosch University, but represent rather institutions in the country to make sure that they also benefit in these agreements. So already mentioned that with only hybrid journals, if you only get to publish for free if you submit to hybrid journals, but with fully open access journals, you sometimes get a discount for journals that are included in the agreement. But if they're not, then you will have then to pay the full article processing charges for your publication. All right. So we do have a title list that I'm going to show you just shortly. And the main thing that you need to understand as the author affiliated with us, you need to use, it is important for you to use your Stellenbosch University email domain. So you use your institution email to submit to the journal, because should you then use your personal email, the publisher might find it difficult to sort of establish if you are affiliated with any of the institutions that are part of the agreement, right? So always use your institution email when you submit to the journal. Another important thing is that you have to be the corresponding author. So the corresponding author is the author that submits to the journal, because even if we do we work on a research output in maybe I collaborate with a number of authors on the research output, but there's only going to be one author that submits to the journal, right? So the author that then submits to the journal and also mention other authors that are part of the output, that author is the corresponding author. So we only assess the corresponding author. Should you then collaborate with authors that are outside the university, and though we have an agreement with that journal, but if you are not the corresponding author, we might have to then reject your request to publish in open access. Then you would have to pay article processing charges for your publication. So you should be the one who submits to the journal, because we only the agreement only allows us to assess the corresponding author. All right. And we do, okay, the Springer Nature one, I'm going to explain it. Let me just open the LibGuide. I want to show you something. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we can, Sakile.
All right. I think opening the link will then restrict you and you'll have problems when you want to access it. So let me rather take you through the steps. So you go to the library webpage. From here, if you click on Find, and then it will take you to this page. Can you see this box written open access? If I click on the first link here, open access, then it takes me to this LibGuide. All right. Okay, I'm using a different screen. It's okay. So it takes you to this LibGuide. So these are some of the publishers that we have agreements with, the read and publish agreements with. So you can select from any of these publishers and see if a journal of your choice is included in the agreement. So you can go through these and see and verify before you even publish if it is a journal that is under any of these publishers that you would like to publish with in the future, right? So for example, let me just go on Springer Nature. Just make a quick example with Springer Nature. So you'd see that we have a list. So with all publishers here, we have a list that indicates titles that are included in the agreement. So you can always download this Excel document and go through it and see if if the journal title of your own is really included in the agreement, right? So you can already see here it indicates that when you click on this, if your list is under this, then you only get a 15% discount. But if you go, if your journal article is under hybrid titles, then you will get you will be able to publish for free. Let me just download it. Try to download it quickly and then maybe make it more practical. Okay, here we go. So I just downloaded the list, right? It's a Springer Nature title list. So you can already see that this is included in the agreement. And in terms of the model of open access, is a hybrid. Remember, when I was defining the agreements, the transformational agreements, so they allow our authors to publish in hybrid journals for free. So you can already tell that everything that is included here, because it's hybrid, then it means you can publish for free. Then you can always search for any journal article of your choice here, and then see if it is included in the agreement. From there, you are able to submit to the journal, and once you submit to the journal, you definitely the publisher will then send a request to us to verify your affiliation. Once we approve your affiliation, after the review process and everything that the journal has to do, they will send it to us. We approve your affiliation. Immediately, once we approve your affiliation, your publication goes public. So it is published and without paying anything at all, right? So these are some of the benefits that you can or make use of to make sure that you publish, because article processing charges, they can really be expensive. I mean, some will go over 100,000, and I'm sure as a student or maybe a researcher, sometimes you are not in a good position to pay that amount. But if you then check if a journal is part of the agreement, then you are able to take advantage of these benefits and make sure that you produce even more research outputs without having to pay anything. But with in terms of fully open access journals, let me just go maybe okay, let me just go to Taylor and Francis. This is the last example, I promise. I'm just going to download this one as well, just to show you what I'm talking about, because these lists are not the same. Sometimes they mix both hybrid and fully open access. Fully is gold open access, right? So you can see with the Taylor and Francis one, we have hybrid journals, right? So it's free of charge but we also have gold open access, but they will indicate in the same spreadsheet that you only get a discount. You cannot publish for free here, but you get a discount. And if you check here, the description will also indicate that eligible authors will also benefit from a 10% discount when they publish in Taylor and Francis fully open access journals. But then if you check also up here, eligible authors affiliated to subscribing rather institution can publish their articles open access in all Taylor and Francis open access, but this applies only to hybrid journals. So you need to pay attention to the description before you even go and download the Excel spreadsheet. So it is the same with all these tabs. So they have the list, they have the description that indicates that if it's hybrid. Remember I said Wiley. So with Wiley, all the channels that are included here, it's free of charge, but we do this on a first come, first served basis. So if Wiley tells us that we've reached our quota, then we'll also communicate it to you that there's basically nothing we can do to assist in terms of publishing. All right. So that's what I wanted to mention in terms of transformational agreements. You can also visit the library webpage and the LibGuide, and then maybe go through the list and then see if there are any journals that you would prefer to publish with in the future, or if you are planning to publish any anytime soon, you can make use of those and then make sure that you publish. All right, just to move fast. These are some of the okay, time. These are some of the platforms that we have in place as part of our open access publishing. We do have the institutional repository. This is basically a platform where we keep research outputs such as your electronic thesis and dissertations. We also keep articles, we keep conference papers, different collections that we keep in this platform. It is also an open access platform. What does it mean? It means whatever we upload on this research, on this platform, is open to, or it's open for everyone. There are no restrictions at all. Remember, your thesis, I like mentioning this in all my presentations. Your thesis or dissertation that you do as part of the institution is not your intellectual property. So that's it belongs to the institution, right? So once you've graduated and we then take your research, your thesis or dissertation, we upload it on the institutional repository to make sure that it is accessible out there. Though you do have a right to apply for embargo. Embargo is a right that you have as an author to request the library that they shouldn't upload your research output for a particular period of time because maybe you still want to write articles out of your research output. Out of your thesis or dissertation, and after that period that you stipulate in the embargo form, we're not even gonna go back to you and ask for permission. We are going to definitely upload your research output on the institutional repository. We also have I'm supposed to go through the platform and just take you through them one by one, but because of my time also, I think to allow you guys to ask questions if you have any, so I can just maybe highlight. All right, we also have a data repository. This is also another the Sun Scholar Data. It's another platform, but this one is for data set. I think later today there is a colleague who's going to dwell much on this institutional data repository, and then tell you what you can benefit from uploading your data set. In that, you should remember that data can be used as secondary data, and data can now be cited. So with that being said, it means that you would have to then upload. Remember, other funders also and other publishers would make it clear that you have to upload your research data set in an open platform as part of your publishing process, or if they are funding you, they would stipulate if they want you to do that. We also have an open journal system. This is a great example of Diamond Open Access, right? Where I said you can publish for free, but also our readers get to access the articles or the outputs we publish there for free. All right. We do have quite a number of journals under this platform. I would want to really show you what I'm talking about on this one, just a quick overview. So these are some of the journals that we have in place as part of the Sun Journals platform. Remember, I already said that it's a great example of Diamond Open Access. So you can go through these journals and see which one really speaks to your interest, and you can decide from there what if you want to publish with any of those. All right. And then we also have the special collections, Sun Digital. This is a platform for basically archives, or rather digital archives. We also keep our archives in the platform, and yes, it is an open source platform. It is an platform for open access. All these platforms that I'm mentioning here as part of open access, even if you are not affiliated with the institution, you will be able to access these platforms. If you check with other institutions as well who have maybe institutional repositories, you are able to also access their institutional repository, because these platforms are designed to promote open access. So there shouldn't be any sort of restrictions in terms of having to access that. I already touched, or even we went through the LIP guide where I was indicating quite a number of publishers that we have agreements with, and the open access webpage. And lastly, what I want to talk about is the webinars that we have in place as part of our advocacy for open access, where we sort of invite speakers who are quite knowledgeable in the concept of open access to share the latest knowledge in as far as open access is concerned. It could be from global north, any part of the world, to make sure that our researchers are also well informed and they have access to the latest information or developments related to open access. All right, this is the web page, just to show you where you can access the platforms that I'm talking about. You see, if you go to the library webpage, then you are able to access. Already did show you how to find our open access LIP guide and other platforms that speaks to open access and services. And then lastly, I want to share a quote from Patrick with you, that my research behind the paywall is of no use. So if you publish a research and you publish it in a journal that requires a subscription, it is of no use, because no one will be able to read your research output, not unless they can afford or they are affiliated with the institution that is affiliated with the journal. So rather you publish it openly so that you can also gain more visibility, more impact, and you, in as much as you will grow as a researcher in terms of citation count, but also it is a great feeling as a researcher to see that your research output or your work is also being used towards as a solution towards societal issues. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Sakile. Okay, I'm going to enable everybody's microphones, just so that if you have any questions you would like to ask, you can ask them over your microphone. Otherwise, you can just pose your questions in the chat.
Do you have any questions? Okay, looks like we are clear then.
Yeah, it looks like that. Right, so maybe Sakile, you can just share your email address in the chat, so that if anybody has any follow-up questions, they can just send you an email. But yeah, I want to thank you very much for your presentation, and I hope to see some of you at the remainder of our webinars today and tomorrow. All right, thank you very much, everybody, and thank you again, Sakile. Bye.
Thank you so much, colleagues. Bye.